everybody. Just make sure that my sound's coming through okay on this.
Keep talking.
Yep, okay. And calling to order the Pierce County Council. I'm having technical difficulties.
Where is it?
Good afternoon, everybody. There we go. Red is on. It's kind of backwards from what we have at our other one. So now that we figured out how to use a basic microphone, I'd like to call the Pierce County Council special meeting of the Select Committee on Homelessness to order. Today we have a very special meeting. We're meeting here at the on-site at Tacoma Rescue Mission. So welcome. We'll get a presentation on that. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Herrera.
Here.
Councilmember Denson. Here. Councilmember Campbell.
Here.
You have 3 members present.
And with 3 members present, we do have a quorum. And we're also joined by members of the County Council staff and PCTV. Thank you for coming out, making sure that this is available. And if I could just have all the members of Pierce County staff introduce themselves, starting with Rebecca.
I am Rebecca Chapman, council staff.
Brenda Price, Associate Clerk.
Jair Winesbury, Communications Coordinator.
And we have at the back of the room Lee Beth Merrick, who has worked on a lot of these issues, and joining us today, someone whose name I just don't. Andrea Kelly, who started today, right? I was like, wait, I recognize her as one of ours now, but welcome, Andrea. Welcome to your first day. Thank you for coming out for this. And Brian is over here with communications, taking pictures. Thank you all for having us out here today. Oh, and my assistant, Sabrina, is here today, who helped make a lot of this happen also. So thank you, Sabrina, for all your work. Yeah, okay, it was all Rebecca and Lee Beth. She made sure I got here today, which was the important part. With that, we will go, we pretty much have a light agenda of a presentation from the Tacoma Rescue Mission and a Q&A from us just on some follow-up. We will allow public comment if anyone wants to make a few comments or let us just know about something. We'll do that after the presentation, but at this time, I would like to welcome Duke Paulson, the Executive Director of the Tacoma Rescue Mission. Thank you very much for hosting us here, and tell us a bit about yourselves.
All right, red's on, so you can hear me.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you so much, Chair Campbell and council members, for coming, and your staff and team. It's definitely an honor to have you guys here. This has been exciting to have this set up and occur. I think for our team, it feels great to feel like this is a place that you guys wanted to come and are willing to come, and I really appreciate that. So I would like to just take a moment to, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Duke Paulson. I'm the Executive Director at the Tacoma Rescue Mission. It's my honor to get to talk to you a little bit today about what the Rescue Mission does and answer questions about what we're continuing to do and lean into. So first, just briefly, the history of the Rescue Mission started back in 1912, and it was a partnership with the political leadership, the business leadership, and the faith leadership in the community, saying, what can we do to help people in the greatest need in our community? And so the original name was the Tacoma Common Mission, because it was the common mission of the community leaders coming together to say, what can we do to help people? And if you come into in our entryway downstairs, we have the old black and white photos, and you'll see Tacoma Common Mission is the name. And it turned into the Rescue Mission, I believe, in the 70s. But the common mission was, what are we doing to help people that are in our greatest need? So at that point, it was people, mostly men, who were coming to Tacoma at the turn of the century, and it was a boom and bust town in growth and trade and commerce, but people that were experiencing homelessness and people that were struggling with food security, and that was the place. This was the place to come. And over the years, that's consistently been the mission of the Rescue Mission: is what are we doing to help our neighbors in the greatest need in our community? That's morphed over time. Most recently, when we moved onto this campus here on South Tacoma Way, it was as a result of The Rescue Mission originally had a spot on Pacific Avenue, and then they had a shelter that served a total of 20 people. That's now where the convention center sits. And when the convention center was built, this property was identified and this property was built. And at that point, it was built to serve 60 people. And this is back in 1990 or 2000. It's in 2000. I was going to say 99, 2000. And at that point, serving 60 people seemed like, wow, we've just really increased our capacity, and we are set for serving people experiencing homelessness in the community. And that has not proven to be true necessarily over time. So just for perspective, last year, the Rescue Mission served over 3,000 unique individuals, men, women, and families. So each one's a group. So a family group, a single adult, or either male or female, that have come to the Rescue Mission. Over 3,000 people were served at the Rescue Mission. And in addition to that, there's another 600 to 800 people that we've served going outside the walls of the Rescue Mission. So we have our outreach team that goes out in vans throughout Pierce County and will assist people that are in encampments, in tents, on the side of the road. We respond when people call and say, hey, there's someone in need. We try and go and find those individuals. We found a couple years ago, there was a pregnant lady on Thanksgiving Eve that we went out and found. There was an elderly woman on Christmas Eve in the snow a year ago. We really work to respond not just within our four walls, but through the community and saying, how can we help people? And I'm really proud of that team, just to highlight that outreach. Goes out during the day to meet people in the encampments and work with them, and we provide all the services you'd get if you were living here. We provide for people that are outside of the four walls as well. And then at night, we turn around and we have volunteers go out and do the same thing again, and that's bringing blankets, food, clothing, assistance, and again, building a relationship with people, building trust with people, and saying we care about you and we want to help. So that's on a broad spectrum who we are and what we do. Within the organization, there's different ways that we serve people. So we have emergency shelters for families, for men, and for women in the Tacoma Rescue Mission. And so that's good because it gives us a broad spectrum of assistance for kind of anyone in need. And the women's shelter that just opened a few years ago was a big partnership, a local community partnership to open that. And that provides safe space for just about any group that's coming to us, or any group that is coming to us, because we accept and welcome anyone that comes. There's no requirement to come into shelter, especially in the men's and women's program. In the shelter space, you don't have to have identification. You don't have to necessarily be clean and sober. You don't have, we will bring you in, and as long as it's safe in the environment and you obey our rules, you don't threaten staff or destroy property, you can stay here. And so that's really what, as low barrier shelter, that's what we try and do. And the way we manage that is people that come in here, we don't ask questions, we're here to serve you, and you can stay for up to 30 days. And in that time, we ask you to engage with our case management team. And our goal is to try and help identify with the person, talking to them, what are the barriers that are causing you to be homeless? What are the experiences, the traumas, what are the barriers that you have? They could be legal, they could be mental health, they could be judicial related, they could be physical disability, family, just finances, there's all kinds of things, transportation, all play into this. And honestly, a lot of times there's multiple. There's 3, 4, 5 of these things that may be stacked up. So we'll work on what's the first one we can work on. What's a barrier that we can work towards removing and helping someone out with. And we will apply whatever resources we can to do that. If someone chooses in that first 30 days to engage with our team and start working on that barrier removal, we'll extend that they can stay another 30 days. And if they're continuing to work, we'll extend to stay another 30 days. And we don't want someone who's working with us to get out of homelessness to run into oh, sorry, you're at 60 days, you have to leave, or 90 days, you have to leave. Because what if someone has a part-time job now, or they're working on, okay, I had to go and serve some time to remove my legal barrier, Now that that's done, I want to come back and keep working on stuff. So we don't have a hard and fast time. It's really if you're working with us, we'll continue to let you stay and keep working with us here and our team, because our ultimate goal is to help people move out of homelessness into a safe, secure, housed environment. And that can be reunified with family, that can be living in their own place, that can be clean and sober or transitional housing, permanent supportive housing. All those things are options for us. If someone chooses not to engage with our team, then within that 30 days, we'll have a conversation. And at the end of 30 days, we'll say, it's time for you to move on and open that spot up for someone else. If someone does leave or chooses not to come back, then there's a 90-day cooling off period where someone can't come back in that 90 days. So you can't just say, oh, I decided I didn't want to do it last week, but this week I do, and just keep coming back and forth. There's a 90-day, okay, come back in 90 days and we can start over again. And the cycle can repeat multiple times. For some people, it takes multiple iterations of that to really engage. Some people engage the first time through. The cool thing is, that I'm really proud of, is even back in 2022, in our most recent stats, we had more than a person a day that was leaving the rescue mission housed because of the work of the team and what happens here in our shelters, which is awesome, because people, I think, sometimes feel like the shelter is only here to hold people, and then people just come and go willy-nilly. Like, no, there's a system, there's some accountability and really thoughtfulness in how we're trying to engage with people and what we're offering here. Our goal is to increase that. I'd like to get up to 2 people a day, to have over 700 people that are leaving homelessness to being permanently housed because of stays at the rescue mission. And our team's working on that, and as things have lightened since 2020, 21, 22 were kind of rough in connecting with some stuff, we're seeing those numbers go up, and I'm excited about that. And I'm excited our new stats will be coming out at the end of this year, and I anticipate it'll be higher than it was this last year. On top of shelter, which is what we provide, we also provide a substance abuse recovery program. So we call this the New Life program. We have specific housing set aside for men, and a separate group set aside for single women or women with children. And it's people who want to have and commit to addiction recovery. That addiction can be alcohol, it can be drugs, it can be gambling, it's whatever's causing you to end up experiencing homelessness and to end up where the addiction's taken over your life and you're not able to thrive and survive. And so we work on that. It is offered free for people to stay in housing for up to 1 year. And the reason we do that for such an extended period of time is there's real depth. Hi, Heather. I'm glad you're here. There's real depth to not just saying, can you stop whatever that behavior that's destructive to you is for 30 or 45 days? Because all the statistics show that a lot of people can, hey, with support, I can do that, and then 60 days later, I'm back at it. And so what we're really trying to do is create an environment where it's not just stop doing that behavior, but relearn your value as a person, as an individual, and retrain your body to say, okay, how do I replace that? What do I do to find self-worth? What do I do to find identity and belonging, and replace that whatever that addiction is fueling in you with something positive? That can be working out, that can be engaging with friends and family, that can be engaging with the community. It can be learning how to work and have identity and feeling like, hey, I worked hard and look at what I accomplished and I'm getting rewarded for that. It takes a while to rebuild that. So that's really going into great depth in that addiction recovery. And the fantastic thing is we were recognized a few years ago, and we've kept that as one of the top addiction recovery programs in the state, because our numbers and the recidivism rate is so low, because it's really engaging people on a deep level. And when they graduate, we have a celebration, and we have a community of people that come around, and the picture keeps getting bigger of other former graduates come around to celebrate, going, good job, we're with you, and we really work on focusing on that community of recovery. So that's another fantastic part of what the Rescue Mission is doing. I think, and stepping back and looking at, we also realize housing is one of the issues that we have So we're working with people on homelessness in the shelter. We're also working on housing. So we have a couple of apartment complexes that we operate, and a couple of buildings that we lease as clean and sober housing. And so we use those as, some are permanent supportive housing and some are transitional housing for people, because if you have been experiencing homeless for a long period of time and you are cleaning up and doing well, it's really, really hard to find your own place with no rental history, with a short job history, et cetera, in a very tight rental market, which we're aware of and I know the county is dealing with. So us being able to create and find housing where we can help people both get into housing and reestablish themselves as having that rental history in housing, and then hopefully move on to something more permanent outside of our system is an ongoing goal of ours. Where we can provide support, we do. So we also provide staff there to help support people and help create a system of care and support, so you're not just on your own going through this, because it can be scary and it's hard. And if you haven't lived on your own for a long time and now you're suddenly living on your own, we want the community to come around to be part of that. So that's just another aspect of what the Rescue Mission provides in our services. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything I missed. Oh yeah, the other thing that I wanted to talk about that the Rescue Mission provides is food. We are a significant part of the food delivery system in Pierce County. So between 250 and 300,000 meals a year come through the Rescue Mission to the community. We have 2 commercial kitchens that are open 24 hours a day. Well, not 24 hours a day, 3 meals a day, every day of the year. That we do send people home at night. But we are open every day providing meals. We provide meals with our outreach team going out. We also do, on our properties, provide meals for the community that comes here. And it is a huge partnership with the existing food delivery system, with the Emergency Food Network as a partner, and the other Nourish Food Banks and such. And because of our renovation that we did 2 years ago, where we increased our freezer and our fridge capacity, trucks like trucking groups, McDonald's, Cisco Foods, et cetera, when they have extra that they couldn't deliver or wasn't ordered or something like that, they'll just pull up here and we'll unload it and we'll store it until we can deliver it and share it with every other food bank in the community, because we have the capacity to store multiple pallets of food. And it's kind of fascinating. We had that happen a couple years ago where McDonald's had extra pallets of hamburger meat that the truck had to offload, so either they were going to dump it or because they had to pick up a new load and take it back to the East Coast. So they came here and we ended up with 3 pallets of hamburger. Well, it's kind of a joke because every food bank and system for the next month had lots of hamburger that we were giving out, because we were able to just divvy that up and share that with people, as well as in our own food where we had lasagna and tacos for a month. It was fantastic. So just being part of the system, and really I think the fun part for me is realizing how integrated the Rescue Mission is within our system. So the convention center, when they have extra food from banquets and events that comes here, we turn around and get that back out to people that day. It's really a multi-level partnership in the community, and important because food insecurity is such a questionable thing or difficult thing in the community. So as a free place to come for any meal, it's a real service that I appreciate that we can offer. So that's kind of an overview of what we do and what the Rescue Mission does. We do also operate a few transitional sites. So we have a site on Pacific Avenue where we've helped, where there has been encampment, to have a safe, managed tent site. And as some people know, we're also working on expanding to serve chronically homeless, which are the hardest for us to serve, because people that have been, as I talked about, removing those barriers for people coming into emergency shelter, doing that in 30, 60, 90-day increments is significant, but we're the most effective for people that have had shorter periods of time experiencing homelessness. People that have been experiencing homelessness for very long periods of time, those problems can be so significant, sometimes it can take a year just to reestablish identification. And so we're working on ways to serve our chronically homeless as well. Some of the gaps in service area, I'm looking at some of the questions that were asked about. I say some of the things, well, let me say this. Some of the things I'm most proud about, when I arrived here a little over 5.5 years ago, we didn't have a women's shelter. There was only one single women's shelter in the community, and that was operated by Catholic Charitable Services, and it had up to a year-long wait list to get in. So having basically more than doubling the capacity of beds for single women was a huge accomplishment, and something I'm really proud of the team and the community coming around that we were able to do that. I think continue to expand the outreach program and the services there, looking at going outside the four walls of just here's our property and here's what we serve here, but going outside and expanding how can we continue to serve people in Puyallup, Bonnie Lake, Sumner, Federal Way, Fife, Parkland, Spanaway, North Tacoma. There are people experiencing homelessness in Gig Harbor and in the peninsula that we can reach out to and help that it's difficult for them to get all the way in here. So us being able to go out, and I think that's an area of growth and expansion that I'm looking forward to us continuing to lean into, because you can help people leave homelessness without them ever having come to a shelter. Those barriers can be removed through trust and relationship. And the bottom line for the Rescue Mission in everything that we're doing is that we want to be a trusted partner for people that are in really dire and difficult situation. And just as a normal person, if you see someone experiencing homelessness and you go up and say, how's your day going? Can I help you? You're not going to get a positive response. People are going to typically, I'm fine, don't talk to me. It's scary, and there's no relationship there. So everything we're doing, both in how we try and set up our facility, how we greet people, the way that we're trying to reach out and bring people in or reach and meet people where they're at, is about building that trust and relationship and just be consistent and there and keep always being available, because that's how people build that trust to come and get this as much service as they're willing to take. We will help with. So I think that's really the heart of what we're trying to do, and I'm proud of the team that does it, because it's difficult and it's challenging. Let's see. Maybe I should stop there. Are there any questions on where I am with that before I talk about any other challenges that we have going on?
Yes, I know my colleagues here. I'm sure there's a few questions. We'll just start with Councilmember Benson.
All right, thank you, Chair Campbell. I have a number of easy questions for you. You started to talk about the areas that you serve. Do you limit where people can come from, or if anybody gets to these doors, you're going to be able to serve them?
Yeah, we don't limit where people come from. So we have people that come from all over the country. That's more the exception. The majority of people that come to us by far are people from Pierce County. That's really our home base of who we serve. And so I'm well over the 80% mark. We have lots of people from Pierce County coming, but they do come from all over the county in every area.
I was curious what you're seeing in terms of age demographics, like approximately kind of the larger age groups, and if you've seen a shift in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. We have seen a shift, and it's not just the Rescue Mission talking to our counterparts who also serve people experiencing homelessness. We've seen a shift with more and more people that are elderly that are coming in and staying here, and it's really difficult to get to a point where you're refusing services to someone who's elderly. We still have our system, and we do try and stick to this, but it's heartbreaking if you have someone that's 60 or 70 years old. We work really hard to try and help as best we can, but we have seen a shift with more elderly coming. It used to be more of a younger person's situation, I guess. So that's been hard.
Yeah, I've heard that as well from other providers, and that's just heartbreaking. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for all you do. I mean, I'm really excited to hear about all your programs. I didn't realize you had off-site housing and clean and sober housing. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You remember her?
Yeah, it's a lot of great information. I'm glad you're getting it out there. The most exposure people may have of this place is just driving by. And they just see a couple people lingering around. They see a couple cars over there and things like that, but they have no idea all the work that happens in here. And people who've lived in this community for a long time may have seen TRM when it was on Pacific Highway. I remember it was right downtown there on Pacific Highway. You had the lines of people there every day.
Yep.
You know, and that whole area wasn't built up yet. And Tacoma has come a long way. And in tandem, seems TRM has evolved since 1912. I mean, what was good 10 years ago may not be good for now. And it seems like you got some good leadership here that is adapting to what's going on. One of the big things, I'm so happy that you got the women's shelter. Concentrating on some of our most vulnerable people out there. And that was a huge need. I've had many examples from my past life of trying to find that. And I always knew that the Catholic Community Services or whoever had that emergency housing was always full.
Yep.
And really hard to get people in there who are in need right away. I also see the elderly, like you said, the need for the elderly is going up. One, we have that demographic of the baby boomer generations getting older. It's getting more expensive to live in Pierce County, and when their needs come around the corner quick, because maybe a spouse died and all of a sudden the retirement is in half, things like that happen, or there's a medical emergency. These things are real things that happen really fast, and no one knows where to go. They had a normal life, and then here's TRM looking into this. That this is good to look into it. Also seen, I guess like a question in there. I'm here giving comments is disabled minorities or people from other countries. I've seen great examples of personal interactions with people who speak Spanish or from Mexico, lived in this country for 30 years, maybe came in here not the right way, has no retirement. They were a labor person all their life, and now their body's broken. They can't work anymore. They still have limited English, and they're scared to come around places like this.
Yeah.
And they're out in the Gulch over there on Portland Avenue.
Yep.
That is a real thing coming up in this community. So, are you going to touch on veterans?
Yeah, I forgot about that, but thank you.
Yeah, so
That's a good one.
I guess I'll just kind of segue into that on the veterans thing, which is really important. A lot of veterans live here in the Pierce County area, and my biggest concern for veterans, there's a lot of help out there for veterans, but there's a segment of veterans who are often forgotten, and those are the veterans who did 3 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, but got in trouble in the military and got less than honorable discharge, and now they get nothing. Or anything, I mean, no one ever condemns what they did or anything like that, but I've seen those veterans on the street who are just absolute angry, trust nobody, and they don't give a hoot about nothing. And they are definitely, whatever, I just have real concern for that demographic. I know you have a veteran thing here. Maybe you can segue right into what you're doing about veterans and if that's a part of folks that you serve.
Yeah, that's fantastic. There's a couple things I realized I forgot to talk about. One is veterans and one is our youth. So I think for perspective, one of the other demographics we've seen is our families and children, and then the huge need there. We operate the largest family shelter in Pierce County. It has 40 rooms in it. It doesn't mean you always have 40 families, because sometimes the family's big and they have 2 rooms or 3. Like it shifts. But at any given point, if you take a snapshot of the Rescue Mission, we have probably between 80 and 120 kids. I think 80 is probably our low, and 120, 130 is probably our high for children that are living on the Rescue Mission property. And so it's not just adults, there's kids, and I call it the rodeo in the morning. If you're familiar with McKinney-Vento and the schools, come pick kids up at our shelter, and they're taking them to Gig Harbor High School, to Fife, to Peninsula, to Puyallup, because they're trying to have kids keep their connection with their friends and their community. But this is the only place they can come to stay, and that's hard. I'm glad we have it, and it's fantastic that we have the services to get kids out to do that. But it's heartbreaking to see that. So we do have preschool that we offer for children. So the preschool age kids that we have, that gives the parents a break in the morning to meet with their case managers and work on stuff, and also gives a chance to just work with kids on reading and playing and just feeling like kids and having a cool, safe environment they can be part of. We also have after school for middle school and high school kids, activities and painting, and it's kind of the ringmaster. We have a staff person who's always putting together activities and trips and doing fun things, just to, again, bring some joy for kids in the environment. So that's something that's just a fantastic addition that we have. Those kind of things, like the addiction recovery program and the youth programs and stuff, those are largely paid for by donors. So there's partnership we have with Pierce County and with City of Tacoma for operating shelter and for adults. And then there's all the additional services that we do that are paid for by donor dollars that support us in things with children and with addiction recovery and counseling and other things that are beyond the normal scope, but I think really help bring that well-rounded, we care for you and we love you and we want to provide for the whole family unit as best we can. And then thank you, Paul, for reminding me, or Councilmember Herrera, I should say, for reminding me that the veterans is a huge and has been a huge part of the rescue mission. So we have a separate shelter room just for veterans. They're held to a little different standard, so they're expected to clean and maintain their room as in a veteran level that they're expected to, but they're also given a little more autonomy and flexibility. And we found people respond really well to that. And we have a surprising number of veterans that are on our staff. And there's a real ownership and symbiosis of that with the understanding of here's our veterans and how we treat them. And they have a space set aside for them and an extra level of care that we give them. And a very great partnership with the VA, where we have regular shuttle trips going back and forth with the VA because there's extra support and services that are available to them because of the VA, and we want to maximize that and get people as connected as we can. And so that's a fantastic partnership that we really rely on and provides extra support beyond what we could with the normal population, and so we really try and plug into that. Part of that history also is, if you're familiar with the Ordnance Soldiers Home in the Quixote Village, that was actually started by the Rescue Mission. So that was initially sponsored and funded and all the grant and fundraising done by the Rescue Mission. And a decision was made. We didn't really do tiny homes in the model at that point. And so the decision was made to open it up and hand it off. And ultimately Quixote Village was selected to be the operator for that, which has been fantastic because they'd done that in Olympia longer than we had. But that's, again, part of that real partnership and engagement with serving veterans is something that we continue to do. And thanks for that, for reminding me of that. I think moving forward, looking ahead at what the Rescue Mission is doing, there's some really exciting things that we are engaging with. One is the next biggest thing we have right now is this next summer, we're going to be remodeling our men's shelter. So I said it was built to serve 60 people. On a freezing night, as we're entering this fall season, we're aware of how cold it's getting. We go into overflow mode where we don't want to turn people away where you could possibly die outside because of freezing cold temperatures or extreme storm or whatever the weather is. So we've had upwards to 200 people stay in the shelter that was built for 60. And we do that by having people in our dining room, having people in our hallways, it kind of becomes a safety issue of just how can we keep people alive, but it's not meant for that, and it's an extra taxing on our facility and on our staff to do that. So we're endeavoring, and we have a partnership. The county, thank you for your support, has pledged $5.5 million to this project. We now have raised other money that will now get it to we're going to be at $14 million in this renovation, which will expand the building. We're actually going to expand the footprint and additional property we got from the city of Tacoma to expand the building so that we can actually serve that 150, 180 people in a space that was designed for that, which gives so much more dignity to the people that we're serving and allows us to be more creative and move away from the traditional bunk bed system and just a big sleeping porch. So we actually want to create more private space for people and increase our bathroom capacity, everything that goes along with it. So we're really excited about that. That's currently we're wrapping up and finishing our environmental review, and then we'll move forward on that project this in 2024 with the intention will be completed in 2025. So that's fantastic. The other thing that we're working on is in Parkland Spanaway with the Pierce County Village project, and that's serving the chronically homeless. So that's going back to our highest need individuals with the most barriers and the longest time that they have been experiencing homelessness. I know as a council you're very aware of it, but just for the community that's watching to understand, that's really saying where we've been really good at working with people who have been episodically homeless or shorter time homeless. This is really reaching into saying we want to help with the demographic of people that shelter is not as effective for, and create permanent housing, create services, and create enough density where we can really have the depth of partnerships with multi-care, with comprehensive life resources, with other groups to really provide as much support for those individuals as we possibly can. And again, in the most dignified way, and really some of the best practice ways that we've seen gleaning around other groups in the community around the country that have done this. And so that's another thank you to Pierce County for stepping up and being a fantastic partner. I did receive news that I know that I don't actually know if the county has finalized the shift in the timing, so that I know that we've come to a settlement. 2 of the lawsuits against the county and the Rescue Mission will be settled as soon as the timing in December of the moratorium is finalized. Has that been closed yet?
I
Don't know. Okay.
don't
Putting you on
call
the
right
spot.
off and don't.
Okay,
don't
I know that
comment
that's on the
those
agenda.
things.
But I also found out on Friday night that there was 3 cases against the county. The third one was actually dropped or dismissed by the judge. So at this point, thank you for your partnership in helping us with this, because it's so much easier moving forward without legal stuff hanging over our heads. And so this is, again, we're moving forward on permitting, and that will be coming after the men's shelter remodel. So a couple years down the line, we'll be really moving forward on that project. And so we've got a couple big projects moving ahead that will really increase our capacity to serve people, to serve more people well, and to do it with the dignity and the care that we want to really extend to everyone, to say, how can we help you in creating that relationship and that trust, so that then we can help you with what are those barriers we can help remove. And that's what we're really trying to do in everything that's happening around here.
Let me just kind
Go
of
ahead.
dig in there and appreciate the work that you're doing to expand and all that. I believe we had, it was 5.5 million set aside in our 2023 budget for the expansion.
Yes.
That didn't happen. We're holding it over.
Yep.
But it is through our ARPA funds, and so they are time limited. So I just want to reconfirm that your timeline is solid, that you're underway, that we can expect that the money that we allocated for that will be spent within the time constraints of our ARPA funding.
Yes. So raising money for projects, getting the first money in is the hardest. So 2 times now, the county has really stepped up and helped be the first money in. So this was an example of that. The first money was committed in 2023, you said?
Yeah.
2022 for the 2023 year?
Right, 2022, 2023
So then
biannual budgets.
Yeah, but we knew we couldn't do the project we wanted to for that 5.5, so we had to go raise the next. But once we had that money committed, then we were able to expand that. So now we've raised a total of $13.5 million. We anticipate it'll be $14 million before we're done here for the remodel, which allows us to do the depth and really the expansion of thousands of square feet that we need to do to, and I can't remember how much it is, but I want to say it's like 18,000 square feet or something like that to accommodate the increase that we need for the capacity that we're trying to get to. So that didn't get finalized until this last spring. And then we had to remodel or come forward and say, here's our complete project, here's the complete funding, and now we've done this, we're finishing the SEPA and environmental so that we can move forward and actually doing the construction this next year. So we're on track to start construction next year in 2025 and probably wrap up, 2024, and we'll wrap up in 2025.
Okay.
So we'll be ahead of that deadline.
Okay, thank you. That's, important. We don't want any of our ARPA dollars to go unspent because then they go back.
Yeah.
And they were brought to be invested, they were given to us by the federal government to invest in our community across a broad spectrum of industries that were impacted by the COVID pandemic. Homelessness, of course, very impacted.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to increase that capacity long term. But I think we'll be talking with you often, make sure that you're staying on target with that because it does need, and you said begin in 2024, you thinking second quarter, third quarter?
We will probably be starting construction in the third quarter.
Third quarter?
So.
And finishing probably?
We think it'll take about a little more than a year. So I'm not, the timeline's still a little bit up in the air because we have to finish get the construction permit. But the nice thing is the property's already owned by us. There's no zoning or other issues or contention, and the city's agreed to help expedite our permitting. So we'll be able to move forward on this quickly.
Okay. And I think we have to have it expended by the end of 26, but we have to have it fully obligated by the end of 2024.
Yeah.
So we have to know that whatever we give it to by the end of 2024 will be completed by 2026. Sounds like you're within that range, but just was asked to make sure that we know that that's out there.
Yep.
And currently you have, you said room for 60 in your men's shelter. Are you full every night? Do you have a handful of vacancies? What is that looking like?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're full. We have been for, there's a little bit of seasonalism. So in the middle of summer, we don't run necessarily full. It's much easier for people to not be in here and comfortably be able to stay outside. But when the weather turned in September, we became full. And so I'll get calls from people saying, can we get on, we found someone, can they come to the rescue mission? And I'll check, and we have a 23-person wait list already. And it gets longer. That was last month. So we are going to open up a winter shelter at Holy Rosary in partnership with the city of Tacoma, middle of November, and that'll run through the coldest time of the season until spring. That helps us with overflow of another 100 people, another 50 people, 100? Yeah. So, and I said we're built for 60. We'll keep 120 here in the winter, and another 50 plus at Holy Rosary, and then more on Pacific Avenue. So at any given night at the rescue mission, there's 400 people that are staying in our shelters and within our system. On a freezing cold night, that'll balloon closer to 600 people. And that's in the county. There's roughly 3,000 is the number that we kind of use for how many people are experiencing homelessness. So it's a pretty significant chunk and partnership. And then if you think the outreach team's connecting with another 60 people a night, then that kind of helps give an idea of how many people are being touched in what we're doing.
Well, thank you for all that. Do appreciate all your work. You've got a wait list, though, 23 people plus. Where do they go?
That's a really hard question. So the way our wait list works is if you're on the wait list, you're prioritized if you come back the next night and people have left or not come back. For a couple of nights, we'll open beds up and people can come in. So we have people, the kids just keep coming back and checking in. my son, when he was 12, came here at one of the nights, and I said, it was a really cold winter night, and I came in here and I said, I'll do the roll call, which is where you stand up in front of the room of people and say, here's the beds available, and here's your name, and you're at this, checking in. And they said, at the end, you say, if you haven't heard your name, please come over to the side and we'll check in with you. And that's, they came over and they're hanging out. My son's with the staff hanging out over there, and he sees that. And that night we had probably 32 people that didn't have a space to stay. And we drove away, and he's really quiet. And midway through the car ride home, he says, Dad, you like your job, right? I said, yeah. He said, I know you really like helping people. I said, yeah, I do. And he said, Dad, I can never do your job, because where do those 32 people go? And I said, honestly, buddy, that's a question that bothers me, especially on these really cold nights, because we can't go beyond a certain level. It just becomes unsafe, and we have fire codes and restrictions and things we have to be careful with. And so we do have people that are in tents and under tarps, and we will give out sleeping bags and try and help people to stay alive and stay warm. But they are on the streets, and they're under overpasses and around, and we just don't have the capacity to help. And so he's like, yeah, I can, Dad, I don't ever want your job. I don't know how I'll go do something else. And his resolve is, I'll just go make more money so you can help figure it out down the line. I'm like, that's fantastic too, buddy. That's a part of the system, absolutely. The expansion we're doing will double our capacity for men. The expansion we did for women more than doubled the capacity for women. We still have a wait list there too. The need is really significant. And we're really proud of the process and that we're helping people leave. And we celebrate like crazy every one of those people, the 380 people that left the shelter and are successfully housed somewhere. And you go, that's 1/10 of the total that's out there. It's fantastic for that 10th. It's hard for the people that don't have a place to go. So we do partner with other shelters and say, is there availability here? We'll help you go somewhere else. But on cold winter nights, they're full too. And so that's part of the system that the community sees. And I know it can lead to frustration, and people feel like, why can't the council fix this? Why can't the rescue mission fix this? And it's bigger than a quick fix. But we are taking steps to fix that, and they are significant steps. They won't immediately fix everything, but they will continue to help for the next 100 people that have space. That's going to be life-changing for them, and that's why we're doing it.
Your family shelter that you have, is it co-ed?
Yes.
So it can be mom, dad, kids?
Mom, dad, kids, single dad and kids, single mom and kids, grandma and grandpa and kids. We actually have some space there that we save for single women in special circumstances, domestic violence situations, or special like emergency things where we'll create some space there when we need to. But it is open for all.
And earlier you talked about the day starts, all this, we're trying to get kids back out all across the county to their home school districts because, it's best to get them back where they have stability. And we know that really works for the entire homeless family, that chances are the parents have supports back out in that community.
Yep.
Of course, we have the community village that we're working on, which is partway out in the county. Mm-hmm. What else is on the horizon for more services beyond the core of downtown Tacoma, but out where people actually are living when they become homeless?
Yeah. For shelter, there isn't a whole lot. So the other shelter groups, the other people that I see out working and doing this in the county tend to be church groups. Chapel Hill in Gig Harbor is very engaged in what they do and opening up on freezing nights their gym and having people come in. There's groups, in Parkland and Spanaway that do the same thing. Puyallup for a decade or more had a fantastic program called Freezing Nights doing that. COVID shut a lot of that down, and I'm seeing glimmers of that trying to come back in some areas. but we're actually pretty decimated in our surrounding area where that support is, because it's really hard to start back up again. Once there was momentum, it was easier, and it takes a big lift to get it going again. I think that's a challenge. I do see increases in support for housing. I know the recent tax that the county passed, the Maureen Howard tax, will be reaping benefits, and we're starting to see how that can get leveraged. And housing is definitely a component of this. It's really, when we talk about homelessness, there's no one answer. Some people say, well, it's just a housing issue, and it's not. It's a mental health issue. It's a addiction issue. It's a mental health. There's so many components to this. There's legal issues and medical issues that come into it, and housing is definitely a part of it, but it's really continuum. It's where's the engagement point, where's the help and leverage and support. Housing is a part of it, and then also how can we help, where's that ongoing support? So even if you get into housing, and I've seen this for people that have been homeless for a long time and get into housing, and they get a housing choice voucher from the housing authority or an opportunity to go somewhere, but if they're outside their community with no support, I've seen people walk away from it, and it's really hard to see that and go, we've done all this work to create this housing, but we're missing on a basic personal level of engagement with people to help them really reap the benefits of this. So I think that's a big part of it that we're trying to help support and see. But I see glimmers of hope, especially on the housing side. I think in the shelter side, it's how they fit together is still coming, still needs some work.
I got a few more questions, but I'll check in with my colleagues, see if they've got more. Running a shelter like this takes a lot of supportive services. Food, just being able to timely get the food in, get it ready. I mean, it's a very big logistics lift. Medical supplies, the social workers coming in. In the services that support you in the role that you do here, where do we have gaps in service or weakness or something that's on the verge of perhaps running into issues?
That's a great question. There's a few things that jump to mind. So the most basic thing that that creates dignity for people are the most essential needs. So underwear, socks, feminine hygiene products, basic things that people just feel like when I don't have these and I need them, I just feel worthless. And we're at this time of year where our supply does not meet our demand for that. And beyond even jackets and blankets, like that, like just the real basic personal stuff, there's just a need for it. So there's always that baseline hum that we're just kind of battling with and supporting. And we have a fantastic community. We get stuff donated, but when you have 3,000 people out there, so we have people that will come in just to get support for those things and then leave. But the fact they'll come in and start that, like to me, that's starting a relationship. And if you trust us enough to come for this, or we can get it to you, and you trust us enough to take it, then we can start having that conversation. But when we run out, it's disappointing, and it can break that momentum we're trying to build. So I think that's a huge part. On the most basic, like anyone that's listening can hear that and go, I have 20 extra socks that could help. Okay, there's those needs. I think on the bigger system level, mental health support is probably the other biggest thing that I see. We have had positions open here at the Rescue Mission for a mental health counselor ongoing for 4 years since I've been here, and not been able to fill the staffing we're trying to get just to support our mental health needs here. And I just know if you just, as a person in the community, if you say, hey, I'm looking for a counselor, and you call someone and they'll say, I don't have an appointment for 3 months, or I'm booked up right now, or I'll refer you to someone else. That's just true for just normal people in the community. But when you're talking about psychiatric assistance and help and mental health support, there just isn't anything available at this level. And we're the hardest level to serve. And it's someone working here is not a normal caseload. Someone working here may have 20 clients who are a normal person would be like, I only want one person on my caseload that has this level of need. And you may have 15 or 20 here that have very acute, high need situations. So it takes a special person and a special willingness to really invest. So we do have people on staff, but we have funded in the past to have 3 people on staff to do it, and our peak has been 2, and we've never been able to get the third one, and sometimes we're down to 1. And so it's just an ongoing need, and there just aren't resources in the community. We can't refer someone to go to WellFound. They have openings because they don't, and we can't get them in. And go to, and I know you're aware of this and worked on it, and there's engagement in the community to try. We know this, but we see it a lot from this end. Am I missing anything? I got a couple of staff people in the crowd here to help me. Is there anything that you're thinking of that I am missing for needs that we're? Yeah, I think mental health is the biggest one that we just run into a lot. Yeah, and the other one that's weird, it's just not weird, but I think people don't realize is identification. Just, if you've been living off the grid for 10 years, working under the table, just making money by standing behind Home Depot and doing jobs for people, and I just don't have ID. Well, it is ridiculously hard when you can't find your records and you've been off the grid for a long time to get your identification back and to prove who you are, and to, if you want to get a job and you want to see if you have any benefits or you want to work, it's really challenging also. And those systems have been so taxed the last few years, it's been really hard to get support, and can take, as I said earlier, up to a year. So there's just the systems, the barriers. People don't realize it's not just go get a job and you can go back to work and do stuff. It's like there are significant hurdles that people have to face that are legit, that even with professionals helping them, that they still you can't overcome easily, or you just have to wait. It's going to take 2, 3, 4 months to get to that appointment, to get this moving forward, or to find this document or something like that. So.
And that's with the state of Washington, where they're trying to get ID from the state of Washington? Yes,
well, absolutely, with the state of Washington. Sometimes you have someone who, I was born in Oregon. Well, now you got to try and get Oregon to help you and get the stuff up here. So, but I've been living here for 15 years, but my last identification was in 5th grade in Oregon or California or something. So, people that come here for jobs, people that come and things fall apart, and suddenly you're living here and homeless, and we see all these. There's no clean story. Everything is all chopped up. So I can meander on that for a long time with lots of the heartbreaking challenges that our staff and case managers see, and that's why honestly, the trauma that they see and try and support and do that day in and out is incredible. And so they're really the heroes in our system in what they do.
And if we were able to streamline those processes, get ID issued in a more expedient manner, they'd be on a fast track to, may or may not, but
getting job, getting benefits, getting back into housing, all that kind of stuff, because you can't do it without your identification.
And so, okay.
Yeah.
Can see where that's an area that.
Second to mental health is still our biggest, but I went with the real basic need, and then I went with the really high, huge need challenge, and then I thought, okay, here's a middle of the road one that's maybe something we could have a little more engagement with locally.
And that's what, the mental health one, we know that. I mean, we see this across several sectors, but it's hearing some of these kind of more unique ones that might help. That's part of the reason we did this committee, was to be able to look deep into things beyond the surface. Because so many
Yep.
times we're so busy that we stop at mental health, that, oh, God, we have to work on that, which we do. But what are some of those other things that we, as part of a bigger committee or just in our general workload, don't have time to look into some of the more systemic issues that don't normally rise to the top because it's not a priority, but obviously is impacting the quality of life for those individuals and what we can do to help serve that.
Yeah.
Committee Member Denson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to add to that, I'm so glad you mentioned the struggles with identification because we know the struggles with mental health. It's just overwhelming. We've got to keep working on it, but it's such a big issue. Whereas, maybe I'm being naive, but I feel like identification, a big issue, but I feel like that's something we should be able to address. We just met with our legislative delegation this morning for an hour and a half, and if it's something the state can do, I mean, if you've got people that are working hard and they just need an ID to be able to get an apartment or get a job or, whatever they need to do, we should be able to help that, help them move along a lot faster in that way. So that's not one that I knew about, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and if you think of the system, if you're going to get ID, well, I need to go apply I'll go online and make an appointment. It might be 10 days from now, and I'll be able, Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Well, that's a big challenge when you're experiencing homelessness and to get there for Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And then when you get there, they go, well, do you have this backup or this backup? No, I don't. I struggle with that in my own house. Like, I got to go through the filing cabinet and find where's my Social Security card and birth certificate for my kids so they can get this. It's like, oh, if you don't have those, now what do you do? Well, now you got to go to the Department of Health and you got to get this. Now you got to go to your original county where you're born and get this. And it's these layers of bureaucracy that it makes sense, but it can take a lot of time and a lot of effort, and everything costs $30 or $60 or whatever it is, and it just, if there's even a streamlined or way or person that could help us with that, that would be fantastic.
Yes, like you said, it gets frustrating for all of us, and then if you're experiencing homelessness as well, and maybe you don't have easy access to internet or you don't have a phone, and you've got so many other things you're dealing with to address your basic needs of the day. I mean, I can't even imagine. I could imagine giving up very easily.
Yeah, it's just frustrating.
It's got to be hard.
So.
Committee Member Herrera.
Yes. Yes, the mental health support, important thing. Have you seen trends with that at all, like on the street? Was it more now versus 10 years ago that they're just showing up here? I know it's always been probably an issue with that.
Yeah.
Is there any trends that you're seeing?
Let me tell you my perspective. I don't know if it's a trend or if it's something I've learned in my time here. Mental health is a little bit of an unknown thing. There's no direct line. Where is your mental health? What happened to cause mental health stability? Was this a chemical imbalance? Is this born this way? Whatever's going on. People that have experienced a whole lot of trauma, and I mean, veterans know this as better than anyone in the VA talking about this. Like, you've gone through a whole lot of trauma. It affects you in different ways. And it may be I'm just not comfortable in large crowds now. It's just I don't know if certain situations or certain environments trigger me in different ways. People that have been experiencing homelessness for any length of time have had some real traumas. And they've seen things that people shouldn't have, that would traumatize me, and even knowing the stories keep me like, ooh, that would, like, I can't imagine how would I respond to that. Building trust and helping remove the traumas are huge, and so there are people that, and here's what happens is someone might say, oh, we were aware I had a mental health issue, and if you talk to someone in our shelter, how many people have been told they have a mental health issue? All these people raise their hand. They may have 6 different diagnoses. Well, they're not even coordinated. Someone says you have schizophrenia, someone says you're bipolar, someone says you're manic depressive, someone says now I have 5 different medications that don't have any coordination with each other and are making me more messed up. And so consistency and awareness and time. So even speaking from someone who has family members who struggle with mental health situation, it takes time. It may take 2 years to get your medication dialed into a point where it stabilizes what you're going through, and there's no direct science behind it. Even talking to a psychiatrist, like, well, we're going to try this one. Oh, that doesn't seem to be working. We'll tweak it to something else. for people that don't have time, that don't have the stability, don't have the ability to do that, it actually messes them up and can make it worse. And so I think the trend I see is, I see people who care, and they like, I know people who are staying with us as our guests who care, and they don't want to be broken, and they don't want to have this, and no one wants to have a mental health diagnosis. But I try this medication and it makes me feel worse, or I go crazier, or it does something else, and so I don't want to do that again. And so it becomes a trust issue for them too. So if there was for us, trying to be stable and consistent and really help manage people over an extended period of time is really our challenge. And there's no quick fix. There's no just go to the hospital and you can get a shot and this will stabilize you for 3 months. It takes time and trust, and that's our biggest barrier for people that we can do that with. So in our New Life program, where we have people that come in and will stay with us for a year, and we work on addiction recovery, but we also work on mental health, we work on counseling, we work on getting those medications figured out. We will see people who come in with a list of medications this long and leave with maybe one, and in a stable situation and so much better off. But it took a year to wean that down to that point. And so that's, and sometimes they may not even need any more as they clean up other stuff, but maybe 1 or 2, that's it. And it's a totally different environment. So I think that's the challenge that I see. And the trend that I see is people trying to do a quick fix and just answer this, and then it doesn't really help the person in the long run. It may actually make them feel worse.
One more. And IDs have always been an issue. It's just something we got to continue to work on. IDs are an important thing to get that next step forward. So you talked about another gap in service. That's your socks and underwear. I definitely know about that stuff. So people listening today or watching today, how can they help with either donations or something like that?
So for the rescue mission, and I'll say this globally. Sorry, I'm talking with my hands. Any of the shelters. So if you went to Salvation Army, Catholic Community Services, your local food bank, I'll predict that is going to be a need that they have. So for the rescue mission, because that's what I know most specifically, we have multiple places you can donate. You can go online, and you can actually, we have an Amazon list, and we can buy stuff for people. You can send money. You can come and donate to, we have multiple locations where you can donate and actually drop stuff off. And so we try and make that as easy as possible for people to engage with that. And it's again, basic needs. It's even adult diapers. So it's really hard when you're coming here, and incontinence is a thing. And if you're an adult, and you're not going to come into the shelter if you feel like you're going to be the guy who messed up the bed in the morning. And so you need to have something to help. And so we want to provide that. And so those are things that just are the real truth, bottom line things that are the constant need that we have. And so people drop them off, people order them online. We have people just, Amazon will ship stuff to us. It's fantastic. So I'm going to ask Laura, who oversees that. Is there anything I'm missing on that?
A couple other random things that we always need are always deodorant and disposable razors. Those are a couple other things that we're always low on. And those are just something that really help provide dignity and something that we all want.
Yes.
And, yeah.
So for those that couldn't hear it into the mic, save you Marty doing it, Laura, who coordinates this on our team, said deodorant and disposable razors are huge needs also. So just real, and I know toothbrush, toothpaste, just the basic hygiene things. When people get that and they don't have it, they're really excited. And you think of it, that can cost you $10 in a plastic bag and a trip to Walmart, but someone will be really excited about getting that.
What I've often done is you'll go in to a sporting goods store and you want to buy a 6-pack of socks, and they're like, and get another one for half price. I don't really need 12, but I'll buy the other one and drop it off.
Yeah.
Or if you're someone who travels a lot and you're in hotels, all those little hotel things that are single use or limited use, bring them back, drop them off.
Yep.
So the little soap bars, the little all that. Don't raid the cart. That's not what I'm saying. But just opportunities within your life where you see
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, oh, I don't need all that. But it's an opportunity to just add them on at that time.
Yeah.
So,
Those are fantastic. Thank you, Marty. I appreciate that.
other questions from us? And I don't know if you even finished talking about everything that you wanted to that was on your sheet. We kind of jumped in.
I think that covers it. I wanted to give you guys a good overview. I feel like that's a pretty good overview of what the Rescue Mission is and what we do. Not only tangibly what we, like there's the physical what we do in the community. So people know us food, shelter, housing, outreach, vans going out, people that are experiencing homelessness, people that are addicted. That's the overview. I think the biggest thing that I just want to also just reiterate, and I appreciate that we've talked about this, is the team of people. So there's the internal staff of people that are manning this, that are doing it, their heart is, what can we do to care for you and provide dignity and love for you in whatever situation you're coming in from? Because if you're coming in, you have no identification, and you have mental health diagnosis, or you have whatever it is, it's scary and hard, and you're rejected everywhere you go. So we're the place that we don't want to reject anyone. We want you to be received. To the community, anyone that's listening to this, to the thousands of volunteers that come in every year and help us, that's the reason we're able to serve so many meals and do the level of, like, that we can have a van that's paid for with a partnership with the county in the day, and then that same van goes back out and does another shift at night because volunteers come out and do it, and we can double our resources. It's okay, we can have 2 shifts going out and serving people because of the community coming and supporting, and I can't be appreciative enough of how much that means, and the partnership, going back to the original founding of the Rescue Mission, of a partnership with the political leaders, our business leaders, and our faith institutions, and saying, how can we help people? That's really where we still stand, and what we want to, what we bring to the community.
Thank you for that. Thank you again for opening your doors here and having us come in and kind of get a little bit. I think we're going to get a chance to walk around and look at the campus a little bit, to
Yep.
understand it, to see what's coming up. Not seeing any more questions here. I do want to go ahead and open this up. We tried to do this every committee, open it up for public comment, public discussion. So if there's anyone in the room who wants to come up for 2-3 minutes and just share a little something with us, you're free. Just please come on up to the podium.
Yeah.
Duke promised he wouldn't get mad at anyone who. Anyone have anything that they want to share, or a story they want to share with us? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Again, Duke, thank you very much. I mean, it's part of, again, with the select committee, we wanted to kind of look at things differently than we normally do. So even just changing where we're having discussion and what we're discussing. And so I also, if you think through it and there's something else that comes to mind, like the ID, something that's just a little different that normally wouldn't hit the radar, just let us know, because we may have a nexus come up in a forthcoming meeting or something like that, and that helps us a lot to see the bigger picture, because so many times we're just looking at either the bottom line, the number of people and the dollars, or the biggest barrier, and we know it's systems, and we need to make the system work top to bottom. Getting someone, someone who has mental health issues without ID, and then the whole not having ID helps exaggerate, if we can knock a few things off that list and get them to focus just on the main important thing, I think that's great. So I think that's all that we have. I will go back to Rebecca. What do we have coming up at future meetings?
Yes, thank you, Chair Campbell. So our next meeting is a regular scheduled meeting, November 8th. We have 2 items on the agenda. The first will be a review of the budget relating to homelessness services. That will just be a brief overview of what is currently in the executive's proposed budget. The council is aiming to pass the budget on November 21st, which is before Thanksgiving. So we will, looking forward, the plan right now is to have a meeting on December 13th and review what was actually passed within the budget. But so on the 8th, we're just going to be looking at what's proposed. And then we will also hear about the winter strategy for Pierce County relating to homelessness and those on freezing nights. And we have a variety of speakers who will be participating in that, from Human Services, the Department of Emergency Management, the City of Tacoma, and then also from the Pierce County Coalition to End Homelessness. So those 2 items will be on November 8th. And that will be at November 8th, Wednesday at 1:30. This was obviously a special meeting.
And November 8th, that's a Wednesday,
Yes, Wednesday
So-
at 1:30.
possibly at the November 7th meeting is when we might be getting our first look at, do I have this right? That might be our first look at our county budget. So we might have some of the amendments.
I believe we are getting the first look at our budget on Thursday, the 9th.
Okay,
And then council will be
the 15th.
discussing that
Yes.
at the following week.
Okay. Well, we'll have at that discussion, we will have the most up-to-date budgeting, whether it be the executives or any known amendments or anything like that, so that the public can be aware of what's in the budget or likely in the budget, so that they can make sure that they're holding us accountable to what we should have in there. So,
Yeah, and I would just like to add, if any member of the public would like to know, they're welcome to reach out to myself, Rebecca Chapman, or anybody on this committee, and we can direct you to the right person or provide you with the information that we have at hand.
all right. With that, there no additional business before the committee today. We are adjourned. Thank you for having us here today.